The attack and Earth's response. The settlement on Nerva 9 gleamed like a pearl against the azure backdrop of its atmosphere, visible even from orbit. Established 50 years ago as a symbol of cooperation between 7 different species, it had grown from a small research outpost into a thriving community of 30,000 souls. Located in the Cygnus Arm, far from the politics and power struggles of the core systems, Nerva 9 represented everything the Galactic Concord stood for: peaceful coexistence, scientific advancement, and cultural exchange. As dawn broke over the eastern habitation domes, the light of the system's twin suns, one golden, one pale blue, cast long shadows across the central plaza. Children of various species played in the community gardens, their laughter a universal language that needed no translation. Merchants opened their shops along the curved promenades, displaying goods from 100 worlds. In the science district, researchers were already at work, collaborating on projects ranging from sustainable terraforming to quantum entanglement communication. Kel'Era, a blue-skinned centaur with 6 nimble fingers on each hand, adjusted the environmental controls in the hydroponics lab where she worked. Beside her, her human colleague Darius Rhodes checked the nutrient levels in the newest batch of medicinal plants they were developing. The Arveni seedlings are responding well to the modified soil composition, Darius noted, making an entry in his datavat. If this works, we can help dozens of colonies struggling with crop failures. Kel'Era nodded, her large eyes blinking in the pattern that humans had learned meant satisfaction. The council meeting later today should approve our expansion proposal. Then we can. The lab's lights flickered, then failed completely. A moment later, the emergency backups kicked in, bathing everything in a dim red glow. Power fluctuation, Darius wondered, already moving toward the terminal to check the system status. The answer came not from the computer, but from the floor itself as a violent tremor shook the entire facility. Darius grabbed the edge of a workbench to steady himself as the tremor intensified into a full-blown quake. Alarms began wailing throughout the complex. "That's no power fluctuation," Kel'Era said, her voice tight with fear. They rushed to the nearest window and looked up at the sky. What they saw turned their blood cold. Black ships, dozens of them, had appeared in Nerva 9's atmosphere. Not the elegant curves of Concord vessels or the practical designs of merchant freighters, but jagged, predatory shapes that seemed designed to inspire terror. They were Krell warships, the vanguard of the most aggressive and expansionist empire in the known galaxy. The Krell Dominion had never signed the Concord treaties. They viewed peaceful cooperation as weakness and considered themselves superior to all other forms of life. They took what they wanted, destroyed what they couldn't use, and left only devastation in their wake. And now they had come to Nerva 9. The first bombardment struck the settlement's defensive shield generators, overwhelming them in seconds. The second wave targeted power plants and communication arrays. By the time the third barrage hit, there was nothing left to offer even token resistance. In the chaos that followed, Darius and Kel'Era joined the flood of civilians rushing toward the emergency shelters. Above them, Krell landing craft descended like predatory insects, deploying ground forces armed with disintegration rifles and neural disruptors. "They're jamming all outgoing signals," someone shouted over the screams and explosions. "We can't call for help." In the central communication hub, a young engineer named Toran worked frantically at his station. Half human, half Solarian, he had grown up on Nerva 9 and knew every system, every backup, every workaround in the settlement's infrastructure. While others fled, he remained, fingers flying over holographic interfaces, trying to establish any connection to the outside world. Come on," he muttered, ignoring the blood trickling from a gash on his forehead. The main quantum relay was down, the subspace transceiver destroyed, the tachyon burst transmitter offline. But there was one more option, an old emergency system installed decades ago and nearly forgotten. A narrowband quantum string transmitter, designed to send a single, compressed message across vast distances. It had never been tested at the range he needed, but it was the only hope left. As the sound of Krell troops grew closer, Torin activated the transmitter and spoke, his voice steady despite the fear threatening to overwhelm him. "This is Nerva 9 settlement, transmitting on emergency channel. We are under attack by Krell forces. Civilian population. No defenses. They're killing everyone. Please, anyone, help us." He tagged the message with Nerva 9's coordinates and pressed send just as the door to the communication hub exploded inward. The last thing Torin saw before a neural disruptor struck him was the transmission confirmation blinking on his screen. Sent. The message traveled across 17 light-years, riding the quantum string like a spider on an invisible web. It passed through the void between stars, undetectable by conventional sensors, until it reached its programmed destination, Earth. Deep beneath the Olympus Mons colony on Mars, in a facility known only to a select few, the quantum receiver chimed. Lieutenant Commander Maya Santos, on the graveyard shift at what most considered a dead-end posting, nearly spilled her coffee as the alert sounded. "We've got a QST transmission," she announced to the mostly empty monitoring station. "Origin, Nerva 9. Her supervisor, Commander Vega, moved to her station with surprising speed for his age. "Nerva 9. That's a Concord settlement. They shouldn't have access to this channel. It's using an old Earth emergency protocol, sir. The kind we used to install in our colonies before the Concord standardization. Play it." The message was brief, desperate, and unmistakable. Vega listened once, then ordered, "Verify authenticity and alert HICOM. Priority Alpha." Within 30 minutes, the message had been confirmed genuine and relayed to Earth High Command. Within an hour, emergency sessions of the Military Council and the Civilian Authority were convened. Within 3 hours, a decision had been reached with unprecedented unanimity. Earth would respond. Not through the Concord channels, not with diplomats or strongly worded declarations, but in the way humanity had learned to respond when the innocent were threatened, with overwhelming, precise, and unstoppable force. In the orbital shipyards above Earth, vessels that had been on standby for decades hummed to life. Not the sleek, diplomatic ships that represented humanity in Concord space, but warships. Dark, powerful, and purpose-built for a kind of warfare the galaxy had not seen since the Arcturus conflict a century before. Aboard the flagship Retribution, Admiral Elena Chen surveyed the holographic display showing the gathering fleet. 27 capital ships, each carrying a complement of strike craft and dropships. Over 15,000 personnel, all veterans or top graduates of Earth's defense academies. And weapons systems that had been developed in secret, kept in reserve for a day humanity had hoped would never come. "Status report," she ordered, her voice carrying the quiet authority that had earned her both respect and fear throughout her career. "All vessels report ready, Admiral," her XO, Commander Jackson, responded. "Strike groups assembled. Ground forces prepped. QST disruptors and stealth systems online." Chen nodded, her expression unchanged but her dark eyes burning with controlled fury. She had read and reread the transmission from Nerva 9, had studied the intelligence briefings on the Krell Dominion, and had reviewed every scrap of information available on the settlement and its people. The Krell had made a fatal miscalculation. They had attacked a peaceful settlement with ties to Earth, believing there would be no significant consequences. They thought the Concord's bureaucracy would debate and discuss while they completed their operation. They thought Earth, bound by treaties and protocols, would express outrage but ultimately do nothing meaningful. They were wrong. "All ships, initiate sync protocols," Chen ordered. "Prepare for quantum jump on my mark." The QST drive was another technology humanity had kept to itself, a faster-than-light system that allowed for instantaneous travel between points in space without traversing the intervening distance. Unlike conventional FTL drives, it left no signature, no distortion, nothing that could be detected or tracked. "Message to all captains," Chen continued. The Krell Dominion has attacked non-combatants under our protection. They have shown no mercy, offered no quarter, and expected no response. We will show them the error of their thinking." She paused, looking at the faces of her bridge crew, determined, focused, ready. "Our mission parameters are clear. Neutralize all Krell forces at Nervanine, rescue any survivors, and ensure the Dominion understands precisely what happens when they harm those under humanity's protection." Throughout the fleet, commanders relayed the orders to their crews. Weapons were armed, shields raised, and launch bays prepared. In the dropships, Marine units checked their gear one final time. Not the non-lethal equipment used for Concord peacekeeping missions, but the full arsenal of humanity's military might. As the fleet prepared to jump, Admiral Chen made one final address. "The galaxy believes they know humanity through our diplomats, our scientists, our artists. Today, they will remember what came before all that, the reason we survived to reach the stars at all. Our capacity to defend our own, no matter the cost. Our unwillingness to stand by while the innocent suffer." She closed the channel and gave the final command. "All ships, execute quantum jump. Bring the fire." In the darkness between the stars, 27 warships vanished from Earth orbit, as if they had never existed. The silence they left behind was the calm before a storm that would shake the foundations of the galaxy. The Reckoning. The Krell Dominion's primary military base in the sector orbited a gas giant 3 systems away from Nervanine. Designated Fortress Kraxnar, it served as both a command center for regional operations and a processing facility for resources stripped from conquered worlds. Its defenses were formidable. A minefield of autonomous weapon platforms, multiple layers of energy shields, and a perpetual patrol of battle cruisers. Fleet Commander Drex stood on the observation deck, watching as the latest shipment of prisoners arrived from Nervanine. Most would be processed for neural harvesting, the Krell's preferred method of extracting information before disposing of lesser species. A few might be kept as labor, at least until they broke. None would ever see their homes again. The operation was completed with minimal losses, Commander, his second reported. Total control of the settlement was achieved within 6 standard hours. All resistance has been eliminated. Drex made a sound of satisfaction, the plates on his armored exoskeleton shifting slightly. And what of the communications? All destroyed before any message could be sent. The settlement was isolated, as intelligence reported. Excellent. Begin the dismantling immediately. I want that entire facility stripped end. A proximity alarm cut him off, its urgency unexpected and unwelcome. Drex turned sharply toward the tactical display, expecting to see a stray asteroid, or perhaps a merchant vessel that had wandered too close to restricted space. Instead, he saw nothing. "Report," he barked. "Unknown energy signature detected, Commander." The sensor operator responded, confusion evident in his voice. Massive displacement readings, but no visual confirmation. It's as if space itself is distorting. Before Drex could demand clarification, reality seemed to fold inward at 27 distinct points around Fortress Kraxnar. Where there had been empty space moments before, there were now ships, dark, angular vessels of unfamiliar design, already in attack formation. Human ships. The first salvo from the Retribution struck the outer defense grid with pinpoint accuracy, the quantum-tipped missiles passing through the Krell shields as if they weren't there. The second wave targeted the patrol cruisers, immobilizing their engines and weapons systems in coordinated strikes that left no room for response or escape. Inside the fortress, alarms screamed as systems failed across the board. Drex shouted orders that went unheard or unheeded in the chaos. On his tactical display, friendly signatures winked out one after another as the human fleet methodically dismantled the Krell defenses. "This is impossible," he snarled. "How did they find us? How did they get past our early warning systems?" The answer came in the form of a transmission that overrode every communication channel in the fortress, broadcast simultaneously in perfect Krell language. Krell Dominion Forces. This is Admiral Elena Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet. You attacked a peaceful settlement under our protection. You murdered civilians. You thought there would be no consequences. The message paused as another wave of precision strikes devastated the fortress's external defenses. You were wrong. On the Retribution's bridge, Admiral Chen watched the battle unfold with cold precision. The Krell had been caught completely off guard, their much-vaunted defenses proving inadequate against weapons specifically designed to counter them. Earth's intelligence services had been studying the Dominion for decades, analyzing every scrap of information, every encounter, every piece of recovered technology. The Krell never imagined that the seemingly open and transparent humans were capable of such secrecy, such patience, or such devastating effectiveness when finally provoked to action. Strike groups Alpha through Delta continue neutralizing defensive systems, Chen ordered. Strike Group Echo, move to secure the prisoner transports. I want those people safe. As the battle around Fortress Kraxnar reached its inevitable conclusion, a second human task force emerged from Quantum Jump directly above Nerva 9. Led by the heavy cruiser Vindication, these ships immediately deployed ground forces to engage the Krell occupation troops. Colonel Maya Rise led the first wave of Marines into the settlement's ruined central plaza. Using active camouflage systems that rendered them nearly invisible, they moved through the Krell lines like ghosts, neutralizing enemy combatants before they even knew they were under attack. Secure the civilian shelters, Rise ordered over the tactical net. Medical teams, stand by for immediate deployment once sectors are cleared. Remember, people, precise and controlled. Every shot counts. The Marines moved with disciplined fury, their actions methodical yet unstoppable. Unlike the Krell, who relied on brute force and terror, the human soldiers operated with surgical precision. Each target was identified, assessed, and neutralized according to strict protocols designed to minimize collateral damage while maximizing effectiveness. 3 hours after the first human boots hit the ground, the last Krell stronghold in the settlement fell. Emergency medical teams rushed in to treat the wounded while engineering corps began restoring critical systems. Among the survivors they found Torin, the young engineer whose message had triggered Earth's response. Severely injured by the neural disruptor but still alive, he looked up at his rescuers with disbelief. "You came," he whispered. "Earth actually came." The Marine surgeon nodded, her expression softening momentarily. "We always do, kid. We always do." Back at Fortress Kraxnar, the battle had concluded even more decisively. The Krell command structure was in custody, their forces neutralized, their fortress effectively under human control. Fleet Commander Drex found himself brought before Admiral Chen in what had been his own command center. "You have committed an act of war against the Dominion," he declared, still clinging to his pride despite his defeat. "The full might of our empire will descend upon your world for this transgression." Chen regarded him with the cool assessment of a predator studying prey that wasn't worth the effort to hunt. "No, Commander," she replied calmly. "What we have committed is an act of justice. And as for your empire's might," she gestured to the view screen, where the remnants of his once formidable fortress drifted in pieces, "I believe we have taken its measure and found it wanting." She stepped closer, her voice dropping to a near whisper. "Here is what will happen now. You will be returned to your central authority with a message. One simple message that they would do well to remember. Earth protects its own. Every colony, every outpost, every single human or ally under our protection is a line you do not cross." She straightened, addressing not just Drex, but the recording devices she knew would carry her words back to the Krell leadership. "Today, we targeted only military assets. We took great care to minimize casualties while demonstrating our capabilities. Consider this restraint, not weakness. Should you ever threaten those under our protection again, there will be no such restraint. We will not stop at your military targets. We will not stop at your fortresses. We will bring the full measure of humanity's fury to every corner of your dominion until you understand, completely and irrevocably, that some lines must never be crossed. In the days that followed, news of Earth's unilateral military action spread throughout the galaxy. The Concord Council convened an emergency session to discuss what many representatives described as a disturbing violation of established protocols. Earth's ambassador listened to the criticisms and concerns with diplomatic patience. When finally given the floor, she spoke with quiet conviction. For centuries, the Concord has promised protection to all who join it. Yet when the Krell attacked Nerva-9, what did the Concord do? It prepared to debate. It prepared to discuss. It prepared to form committees to investigate the appropriate response. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of each representative in turn. While you prepared to talk, Earth prepared to act. While you considered the political implications, we considered only the lives at stake. This is not a rejection of diplomacy or cooperation. It is simply a reminder that there must be substance behind our words, action behind our principles. She paused, allowing her words to sink in. Earth remains committed to the Concord and its ideals, but let this incident serve as notice to all. We will not stand idle while the innocent suffer. We will not hide behind procedure when justice is needed. And we will never, ever abandon those who call for our help. The reconstruction of Nerva-9 began immediately, with Earth providing both resources and protection. The settlement would rebuild, stronger than before, a living testament to resilience and cooperation. Throughout the galaxy, perceptions of humanity began to shift. For too long, many species had seen humans as idealistic diplomats or clever scientists, respected, perhaps, but not feared. Now they remembered the other face of humanity, the unflinching defenders, the implacable warriors, the civilization that had clawed its way to the stars through determination and an absolute refusal to bow to stronger forces. 6 months after the attack, Nerva-9's central plaza had been rebuilt and expanded. At its center stood a simple monument, not to the battle or even to Earth's intervention, but to the moment that had connected them across the stars. A young engineer refusing to give up, sending one last desperate call into the darkness. And beneath it, a phrase in multiple languages that would become known throughout the galaxy. Call, and we will answer. Because that was humanity's promise to the universe, a helping hand to friends, a shield for the innocent, and a sword of retribution against those who would prey upon the helpless. A promise written not in treaties or declarations, but in actions that echoed across the stars.